bring that focus at times when maybe there's a lull. And today was a great example. We went up by a few scores, they went out scored, and we just kept answering back with important throws and catches and plays.
Well, lack of weapons certainly wasn't the problem yesterday. Rodgers with numbers we hadn't seen in nearly 4 years when targeting his wideouts. And Davante Adams obviously was the big part of that. 14 of 17 targets, 156 yards. They look great. So fun to watch all of that. And I believe we can bring Ryan Clark into the conversation for the first time this morning. Not yet. Okay, so Dan Orlovsky still with us here. Dan, what did you see? Aaron Rodgers, after the tumultuous offseason we've been through it time and time again, what did you see from Aaron Rodgers yesterday?
Yeah, a problem for the NFL, not just the NFC, but for everybody in the NFL. Greeny, I've heard a lot of people talk about Aaron Rodgers as a guy that has sometimes had bad body language, that he gets super frustrated. And I have been outspoken with him saying he wanted to be in an offense that looked fun. And I have said leading up to this season, the only thing I'm watching with Aaron Rodgers is, does it look like he's having fun? Because when he's having fun and playing that recess style of football that we love with Patrick Mahomes, originator of it, then he's at his most dangerous. And through the first quarter yesterday, I was watching it going, man, he doesn't look like he's having fun. And then he makes that throw to Davante Adams. And then he makes that throw to Valdez-Scantling at the end of the first half. And then he makes another seam ball to Valdez-Scantling. I'm going, this guy looks like he's having fun. Like the ball is popping out of his hand, and he is super confident. And when he gets to that point where he knows when they break the huddle, I'm going to do whatever I want with the football because I'm that good, that's when Aaron Rodgers is one of the best players in the NFL. And if that's what we're going to get this season, we're in for a show. And the NFC and the NFL is in for a problem with the Packers.
So, Rex, you said to me this morning, before we even started, you said to me, this performance actually frustrated you further as you watched it. Why is that?
Yeah, absolutely, because this is still Aaron Rodgers. And that's what blows me away about how they butchered the draft. They get nothing out of this draft. And you guys, wake up. You were 13-3 last year. For a reason. You still have Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever played, and he's still playing at that level. So to me, that's what frustrates the hell out of me. I don't care what it is, a receiver, a lineman. Just give me somebody that's going to make that team a little bit better, and they may be in the big dance.
Yeah, because, Dan, this is a big game. I mean, we talked a lot with all these big divisional matchups, Dan Orlovsky, about the significance of these Week 1 games. They just went into Minnesota. I know there were no fans, so the home field, I guess, means less than it usually does. But they just went into Minnesota and knocked them off, and Rodgers looked great doing it. That could wind up being a very important day.
Yeah, Greeny, and the fact that they score on 7 out of their 10 possessions, that's unheard of in the NFL, to score at 70% of your possessions. Now, again, Week 1, we have to caveat this with context. Danielle Hunter, their premier pass rusher, did not play. Their 2 corners are brand new and young players and struggled. So while 100% credit Green Bay for their performance, the Vikings were a little bit shorthanded. The Packers advantage. That being said, this is Week 1, and if your offense is going to look that good Week 1 with players that, many of us, myself included, went, why didn't you get more help? They're only going to get better. And I'm just telling you, if Aaron Rodgers is confident in that play calling by Matt LaFleur and confident with the people around him, and he looks like he's having fun, they are a problem for the NFC.
Yeah, I wonder if they could right now trade Jordan Love for a wide receiver. That would be an interesting question as they try and work their way through the rest of it. Meanwhile, he was brilliant yesterday, but there were plenty of great performances around the league. Scary to think Lamar Jackson could be better, but yesterday he was 9 of 10 on throws 10 yards down the field or more for 180 yards. Last year, he was under 50% on those, so he looked even better. The Raiders' second-year running back, Josh Jacobs, spectacular. The only rookie with 1,000 yards last year. He ran for 93 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground for Las Vegas. Get used to saying that, the Las Vegas Raiders. Meanwhile, the man has never received an MVP vote. That might change this year. Russell Wilson was unbelievable. He had as many touchdowns as incompletions yesterday, 4 of each. His 88% completion percentage, his highest ever. And then stop the presses. Kyler Murray is ridiculous. He threw for 230 yards. He ran it for 91. He was 14 out of 16 targeting his new receiver, DeAndre Hopkins. What a performance from him. So let's start with him. Dan Orlovsky, if I were to say out loud right now that if I were starting a team with a quarterback, after I said Patrick Mahomes, I might consider Kyler Murray next, would you tell me that I was being ridiculous?
You're not being ridiculous. I'm still going to take Lamar Jackson over him, but you're not being ridiculous. I'd say this, Greeny. Kyler Murray is already in the top 5 players, not quarterbacks, top 5 players in the NFL that defenses do not want to play against. He's added this patience to his game. He's got this incredible awareness. He's got DeAndre Hopkins now, and you saw, like, real quickly a comfort and a growth between him and DeAndre Hopkins. Like, just this trust factor. He's amazing as a scrambler. I think he had like 93 yards scrambling yesterday. And so I say this, there's quarterbacks that can beat you with their arms, they could beat you with their legs, they could beat you with their mind. He could beat you 3 ways. He could beat you with his arm. He's phenomenal throwing the football. He could beat you with his legs. He's one of the best athletes in the NFL, and he's really developing his understanding of the game. So he's a top 5 player that teams do not want to play against, Greeny. If only there was a guy on this show that the day that Kyler Murray declared for the NFL told everybody he was going to be great. If there was only a guy on this show.
Listen, look, I give credit where it's due. Orlovsky was dead right on this kid, and I was wrong. I was the one sitting right here saying he's too small to play quarterback in the NFL. Orlovsky had this one right, and I had it dead wrong. Rex, let's come to you, because you were very skeptical about the hiring of Cliff Kingsbury there and some of the things they did. I know you've been impressed with what you saw from him yesterday.
No, absolutely. I think he's really grown as a coach, and I had questioned that. You know, he came out, we were going to run the air raid, this college, type offense. Well, you know what? He came out, went no huddle like the first series, then he settled down. Because what he understands now, it's about the team success. Right now, you have enough weapons. It's not about just, putting up yards. Putting up wins is the important thing. You don't need to trick people with the talent that you have. This young kid at quarterback is a superstar. There's no question. But I'm going to tell you what I was most impressed with Cliff Kingsbury. It was that he ends up getting Hopkins in. So, of course, that's easy. Oh, yeah? He also fed him the football. And the mark of a great coach is being able to get the ball to your best weapons. I've seen it over and over. A guy will get a great receiver, he'll get 3 or 4 targets. He had 16, and he had 14 catches.
Yep.
So to me, that shows me that this dude, he is sharp. I can get on him all he wants, but I got to tip my hat to him that he really impressed me that way.
Meanwhile, Dan Orlovsky, Deshaun Watson and the Texans played Thursday night, so they might have been watching TV yesterday. What would you imagine was going through Deshaun Watson's mind watching DeAndre Hopkins just take apart what we think might be the best defense in football yesterday?
Man, can I go back in time? Can I go back in time and maybe not sign that extension in Houston with this general manager, Bill O'Brien? Because the guy that I'm watching on television, is that the guy that we deemed not good enough to pay anymore? Or that we wasn't worthy enough to pay? Or made the decision that we were better off without him? Like, that's the guy that I'm watching have 14 catches, and all of a sudden the Cardinals are beating the defending NFC rep in the Super Bowl. So Deshaun Watson's got to be sitting there going, man, I wish I could go back and change the way I did some things.
I mean, listen, we watched them play on Thursday night against a defense that isn't as good as the San Francisco defense. I mean, Kansas City's defense has improved, but not as good. I believe DeAndre Hopkins is the best receiver in the National Football League, and they just decided to get rid of him. You don't win games by getting rid of your best player.
Greeny, Bill O'Brien, the GM,
is
killing Bill O'Brien, the coach.
Yep.
Like, that was an absolute atrocious move.
Absolutely. And look, and you see it immediately. When the things that you were so predictable become the problems immediately, that's when the criticism feels very valid. The Texans could have used him, and yesterday he beat San Francisco. We'll take a break, but I'll remind you that the week is by no means over. We got 2 tonight on Monday Night Football. The doubleheader starts at 7 Eastern. Ben is back with the Steelers visiting the Giants.